All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Valerie Swenson, and I'm the academic advisor for biomedical engineering in the School of Engineering First Year Advising Hub. This is the pre-med BME video chat. So if you're here, most likely you have interest in pre-med or you believe that you will be declaring pre-med as a distinction for your time here at Rensselaer. So what I'll be doing today is going over some of the information that was already within the registration guides, and at the very end, I'll open it up to any questions you might have. What I really wanted to do today was be on the line for the questions that you might have. And typically, if one student has a question, that means others do as well. So my portion of this will most likely be 20-25 minutes, and then again, we'll open it up at the very end. So a bit about myself. So I have been at RPI since 2016, and I have been advising biomedical engineers that full time. Biomed was the first major that I advised when I got here, and also one of the first majors that we advised within the School of Engineering Hub. So the Hub has been around since 2017. I've been with Biomed since 2016, so you all are near and dear to my heart. So again, I advise biomed. I also advise chemical and industrial and management engineers. So the first year advising hub within the School of Engineering is just as it sounds. We help you get started here, and then students typically move on into faculty advising for their second through fourth years. As a pre-med, it is a bit different. So for most biomedical engineers, I'm actually the primary advisor for, again, that first year. If you are pursuing pre-med, once you declare that as a distinction, you'll work with a faculty advisor within the biomedical engineering department specific to pre-med. So I'm more of the secondary advisor to the pre-med students. So I will send some email instructions about how you actually go ahead and declare that. But again, I help you get started. And even with students who declare pre-med, I still help them. I'm a secondary resource. I'm here. My job is to help first year engineering students, even if pre-med does work with those faculty advisors, because they are more in depth within the department. They're able to help you more in depth with pre-med related areas. So tonight we will talk about a couple different things. So the first thing is we'll talk about the registration guide. At this point, you should have gone through the registration guides and have any questions, that you want to ask available. So I've had students ask, how does one complete the registration guide? It's literally just going through it, understanding what to do in terms of registration day, the courses that you'll choose, and so on. There's nothing to submit for completion. And then here we are at the video chat. Again, I know why we're here today. And then the last thing is registration, which will take place on the 19th of this month, which is in less than a week. We will talk about how you find your time ticket, aka the time that you register on the 19th, a little bit later tonight. So one of the first things that I wanted to do was go over some resources that are available. So give me one moment while I bring up our template. Here we go. All right. Bear with me, my computer is going slowly. Okay, here we are. All right, so this is the biomedical engineering pre-med template. This serves as a guide to the classes that you will take during your 4 years here. For pre-med, basically everything on here is required to an extent. You do get some choice in terms of humanities electives, but pre-med distinction within RPI's curriculum is very specific in terms of what we have students take. So you all differ actually a bit from biomedical engineers the first year. We have you taking some of the pre-med specific courses early on, which means that you won't actually take a humanities class your first year here. And I'll get into some of that in a bit. But basically, this serves as a guide as to the classes that you'll take for your 4 years here. And to get a bit into what those classes look like, what I wanted to first show you are the pre-med or pre-health advising courses that students at RPI take. So with biomedical engineering pre-med, you will receive a biomedical engineering degree with a distinction in pre-med. So basically what that does is that prepares you for medical study as well as what's needed for the Mcat eventually. So pre-med students, again, finish all the classes that biomedical engineers do in terms of requirements, and then we basically take your free electives and your humanities electives, and we designate those for you. So some of the courses that pre-meds and students pursuing pre-health take are the following. You will take 2 semesters of biology plus lab, so cell and molecular biology, which is typical to biomed, as well as Bio 1010, which is introductory biology. The second class that you'll take is 2 semesters of chemistry. So basically all engineers take Chem 1, but as a pre-med, you'll also take Chem 2 or Chem 1200. You'll take 2 semesters of organic chemistry plus lab. Like all other majors or engineering majors, you'll take 2 semesters of physics plus lab, and then you'll take 2 semesters of English. Lastly, you'll take both psychology and sociology. So I say all this because pre-med is a bit different than biomed in a couple different ways. Again, number one, we take your free electives and we designate them for you. You'll complete a degree with 133 credit hours instead of 128, so it's slightly more in terms of classes. And then again, we specifically designate away the HAAS and the free electives that you're able to prepare for medical study. So to bring it back to the pre-med template here, any of those classes that you saw basically on that page, to bring that back up, anything minus physics 1 and physics 2, RPI recommends that pre-med students actually take those here. So if you have AP credit for these classes, you're most likely going to want to take them here. That goes for AP, that goes for IB, that also goes for college credits that are not from RPI or a similar school. So this is one of the other distinctions too, is medical schools like to see that you take these specific courses here at RPI or a similar institution. So typically students will retake those courses here if they want to pursue pre-med. So that also goes for psychology and sociology. And again, physics is really the only one on here that's a bit different. So for the first semester here, what you're going to do are the following courses. You're going to take Intro to Bio plus Lab. You're going to take Chemistry 1. You're either going to take Introduction to Engineering Analysis, or if you don't have physics experience from high school, I'd like you to take Physics 1 the first semester instead. This is because we actually have more available in terms of mentoring and assistance during the fall for physics rather than the spring if you do have questions or run into any issues. The next thing that you'll have is engineering graphics and CAD. You'll see here on the template that there's a little footnote that says that ENGR 1400, which is engineering communications, may be taken as an alternative to engineering 1200. Both engineering 12 and 1400 are classes that are focused upon CAD or computer aided design. Engineering 1200, the full semester is going to be that CAD class. It's what you're going to learn the whole time. Engineering communications, the first half of the class is CAD. The second half of the class are word processing and other, Microsoft related areas. So you have your choice between those two. Last but not least, you'll take Calculus 1, which is the first of the 4 math classes that you'll take. So again, just to bring it back, really these courses minus physics are the ones that you're going to want to make sure that you've taken here. If you do have AP, IB transfer for any of the other ones that I mentioned, those are okay to come in. And if you do have specific questions on that, we can always meet together kind of offline from this webinar. So the next thing I'd like to show you, once we go back to the classes, we review this because what's very important for registration purposes is knowing the 4-letter and 4-number codes that go with each course. This is actually how we are going to search and create a schedule through a program called Quacks. So I went through this in the guides a little bit. Quacks is a program that was created for RPI students and by RPI students. It's brilliant. I mean, I use this thing daily. So basically what Quacks allows you to do is mock up different schedules up until the day of registration to consider what you would like to take and when. So what you're able to do, again, is use those 4-letter, 4-number codes and actually search up courses. So we want to take Intro to Bio, so we're going to do this. What you're able to do is by doing, again, a 4-letter, 4-number code. This shows the description, all the sections that are available. You can either choose amongst these singularly or toggle all sections, aka see what the schedule will look like with any of these. With biology, you're also going to be adding Introduction to Bio Lab. You'll see that the lab and the lecture are separate in the way that you add them. That also goes for Physics 1. So for the fall, if you're taking Physics 1, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking Physics 1100, but then you're also taking Physics 1960, which is Physics for mentoring for freshmen. So basically, this is additional physics assistance. It meets once a week. It's something that's only offered in the fall, so I do think it's a good thing to take advantage of. So I bring this up because when you go to register, it's going to give you an error message if you don't add both of those courses with their kind of counterpart at the same time. So again, what Quacks does is this creates thousands of different schedules that are available to us. I do not want you to go through all of these. But what you're going to want to do is kind of narrow down based upon preference. If you're ROTC or a student athlete, you're going to want to make sure that you're done by 4 p.m. each day. There are things called test blocks, which basically for calculus and physics, for instance, you'll see at 6:55 to 8:45 p.m. on Tuesdays, there are what's called test blocks. You're only going to have this class, so to speak, whenever you have an exam. But other than that, you know, it really doesn't meet here. So what you can do is, let's add this next. But you can go through and see the different schedules that are available to you. Just select a couple of these, just so you can see. Come on. So here we're starting to build a schedule, as you see, and last but not least, we'll have 1100. You'll see here that if there are classes that have conflicts with the classes already added to your schedule, they'll be crossed out with red here. So we can decide to toggle all the sections and it will automatically weed out the ones that don't work. Then you'll see here that there are hundreds of different schedules available to you. What you can then do is toggle within Quacks and see which schedule looks the best to you. For the day of registration, we recommend that you have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for different schedules. That's because Quacks itself is not live the day of registration. This is just to help mock up your schedule up until. What you're going to want to do is on the day of registration, you're going to want to make sure that the classes that you have selected in Quacks still have seats. And the way that you do that is go into class search. So I'll show you that in a minute. But basically what Quacks does for you is it shows you the different schedules that are available. It gives you what's called the course registration numbers, or CRNs. What the CRNs are used for is you are able to enter those in, and that's what you actually register. So Quacks creates a schedule, then you take those numbers and you put them in SIS, which is the next system that'll show you actually enter those in, and that's how you register the day of. The way that that works. And all this is review too. We have the pre-med registration guide that we created. So again, this is all within here, but I wanted to be live on the line to kind of talk to you guys about this and answer any questions. So I had this on video as well, how to use Quacks, how to, you know, search, how to do those different things are within smaller bits within this program. So the way that you actually go to search up classes is the following. So by now everyone should have visited their SIS account. What you do is you log in, and then the self-service information system is where a lot of different things are. So you have where you can update your personal information. You have student menu, which is basically where we'll live today. You have your financial aid menu, info about your student account, and then this main menu here. So these are all screenshots, by the way, that were taken by a former student, just so we could see exactly how this all works. So we basically are going to be living within the student menu here. The first thing you're going to want to do when you log into the system is check your registration status. You're actually going to want to also click your financial responsibility agreement. Basically what that does is it designates, it's you saying that you'll pay RPI's bill and then you can move forward with registration. You'll have to do the financial responsibility each semester. It's just kind of a disclaimer. So this is the way that you actually look for courses. Again, I mentioned that Flax is a great tool to use up until the day of registration to plan, but SIS, or the Student Information System, you're able to see the live number of seats that are available. So maybe 5-10 minutes before your registration, you'll want to go into SIS and do this class search just to make sure that the classes that you have are live in terms of numbers. And say, for instance, a class, fills up, what you can do is go back into Quacks real quick and remove that section and then kind of add in for other ones. And that's why we have students choose more than one schedule, having, again, a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for their courses. So you'll go and you'll select fall term. So here you can see the class search for Calculus 1, for instance. So say that we wanted to do either section 2 or 3, those now have a C next to them. So that means that they are closed. So if you see a little box or seats remaining, that means that it's open. So again, those CRNs, those 5-number codes are what we're going to use to actually register. So those are important. When you go to register, you're going to want to have all of those in one place because you're actually going to enter them all at once like this. So this register add drop page, the next thing that I'll show you is what you'll use for the day of registration, but it's actually something that I want you to check out now if you haven't already. The register add drop page is going to show you what your time ticket is, aka the time that you register on the 19th. You'll see when you go to register add or drop up until your actual time that registration starts, you will see a start date and an end date to your time ticket. So the time ticket, everyone registers on the 19th. So you'll see a time on the 19th, and then the end date is the 30th, and it will have 11:59 p.m. So you're going to want to, if possible, be online to register during your time ticket just to make sure you get the sections that you want. We do gradually release seats, so it's not like everyone who gets the first time ticket gets all the classes or anything like that. But we want you to get the sections that you want. So be online for your time ticket, and then what you'll be able to do is see what that is. And then also, if you do need to make any adjustments, the 30th of July, we're in, not June. The 30th of July is when registration closes temporarily, just at the registrar's office and get everything set. That being said, you do have the first 2 weeks of classes to make any changes. So for instance, some students come in with AP. I know that the test grades aren't coming out until the 21st. One of the number one questions I'm getting right now is, what do I do in terms of that? If you feel that you got a 5 on the AP, which is the exam score that we take, you felt really confident about the AP, I would go into the next class within the template. If you're unsure, you could always, add that class into the system, and then we can always make adjustments later. But if you feel that you did very well on the exam, I would move on to that next class. And that's another question I get from students is, should I take the next class? Should I retake it here? Aside from those classes that I showed you within the pre-health, don't retake anything that you've already taken, just because we want you to move forward. We want you to move forward and be making progress. We don't want you to be bored with classes or anything like that. So I digress. So what you'll do for register, add, or drop, again, those 4 or the 5-number codes are what you're going to want to use. You're going to click Fall 2021. On the day of your registration, instead of your time ticket, which again shows the 19th, the time that you're registering, you're going to see this area where you're able to type in CRNs or course registration numbers. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to type all of them in at once and then click submit. You type them in here. And then once you click submit, it's going to register you. So if all goes well, you'll see under the status area here, registered via web. If there's a conflict, if something needs to be overridden, you'll see below here, it will tell you what the course conflicts with. Perhaps the course section is closed, perhaps it requires a prereq, perhaps you forgot to add both Physics 1960 and Physics 1100 or lab with bio. You'll see that all right here, and you'll see what class things conflict with too. So if you do find that, no worries, just go back to Quacks, make some adjustments, and then you can use the new course registration numbers or CRNs. Something I will stress is that we will get you the classes that you need. Registration can feel kind of stressful just because you guys are away right now. However, we're going to get you all the classes that you need. Just if you find conflicts, if you're not able to do everything, just go back to the drawing board, try again, and then if needed, we do have those full 2 weeks between the 19th and the 30th to make adjustments, including after you get those AP scores. So once you've actually registered for everything, you can do this view weekly daytime grid. This blocks out and kind of shows you what you'll be doing during classes and when classes start this fall. So this should look pretty similar to your Quacks, with the different blocks and showing how your time will be allocated. And then a few quick things. Again, put all those CRNs in at the same time. For both biology and physics, you're going to want to do the mentoring plus the lecture section. If you forget, the system will tell you. So there's really no going by. And another thing I wanted to mention too is, you register and everything like that. After all students have registered, what I do is I go through and I ensure that every student is taking the correct classes. I'll go through, I'll check your schedule quick. If something is off, if something is missing, if I have questions, I'll email you and say, hey, I noticed that you're not taking a math, or I noticed that you, added a Haas course or didn't add biology, something like that. So I will always check over and make sure that you're in the right classes because we want to start you off right. And again, one more important thing to remember is that Quacks is not live on the day of registration. There's like a 10 or 15-minute lag. So that's why we go into that SIS, that class search that I showed you, to make sure that there are seats available in the classes that you want. And that's that. So we will bring it back to here. Registration, one last note, check your time tickets, set a reminder. You're going to register the moment that the time ticket begins. Time tickets are in Eastern Standard Time. That's a question I've been getting to. Again, have a plan A, plan B, and plan C, just because everyone's kind of registering at staggered times, but on the same day. Use Quacks to make multiple schedules, and then if something is full, just move on to your next. And again, we will get you the classes that you need, especially for pre-med. Things are so very specific on that template. So we're not going to have you take anything extra. We're not going to have you, we're going to want you to take specific classes at specific times. For instance, chemistry 2 is only offered in the spring. So you're going to be taking chemistry 2 in the spring. There's a little bit of flexibility within here, but really what you see is what you get. So something to keep in mind. So with that in mind, I would like to open it up to any questions that you may have. So what I'll do is you can go one of two ways. You can either throw questions that you have into the chat, or if you wanted to unmute your mic, you're welcome to speak up. Whatever works best. Whatever you're most comfortable with.
So I had a question. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, yeah.
Okay, so I just was wondering, when does classes start?
Ooh, great question. I'm going to bring up the academic calendar so you guys can see that info. August. All right. So the fall semester begins on August 30th, 2021. So this academic calendar, if you ever have questions related to that, it's very helpful to just kind of navigate here. But August 30th is the answer. All right, so the next question, oh, no problem. So we have another question here. Can you talk about the process of how you declare pre-med? So basically, it's a really easy process. It's a form. It's a change of major form. I'm going to bring that up and I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm just going to keep sharing this. Okay. So to formally declare pre-med, I would actually like you to do that if you're interested. If you're interested, you can declare it as soon as you want. I'll throw this into the chat and you can always email it to me. If you're still considering, you do have time. And that's another thing too, is you really can declare pre-med anytime during your first year here. The second year is when things start to get real specific to pre-med rather than biomed. So if you're kind of on the fence, no need to declare right away. We can still have you take courses as if you'll do pre-med, and if you don't want to end up doing it, that's fine. Any of the courses, I talked about organic chemistry 1 and 2, biology, chem 2. If you do decide not to do pre-med, but you end up taking those courses first, those will just count as free electives for biomed, because again, we take away your free electives for pre-med and we tell you what to do. So what I'll do after I explain this form is I'll just throw it into the chat, and then everyone should have my contact information at this point, and you can just send it over to me, then I'll get it processed. So it's an undergraduate change of major. Again, you're not changing your major. What you're actually doing is you're declaring a concentration, aka a distinction in pre-med. So what you're going to do is fill out this top section here, everything above this line. And then all you're going to do is fill out section D. You're going to put concentration name. You're going to write pre-med. That's it. There's no concentration code for that. And then you send me the form, and then we process it, and then you'll get your information for your faculty-specific advisor, who I believe should be Dr. Mariah Hahn. She's a biomed advisor. So yes, it's really, really very much an easy process. And then you'll just email that to me. So I'm going to throw that into the chat. I have a question here about faculty advisor. Can you select one? No, they give you one. There's really only one pre-med advisor because you are a small group on campus. So, but it's a tight-knit cohort in that way too. Are pre-meds able to participate in the Flexnet program? And if so, how do we apply for it? Give me one moment with that. So again, I mentioned I am not the pre-med advisor, but I'm able to kind of get you started with biomed here. Yep. So you are indeed able to do this. So what the FlexMed major allows you to do is, if you're interested in going to medical school, the ICANN School of Medicine, beginning at Mount Sinai, beginning your sophomore year, you're able to apply into this. So it does allow you in any major to be able to do this. And more information, you've got the acceptance requirements, and all this information is here. So what I want to do is provide you, so give me one moment while I navigate this. I'll throw the link into the chat for you all if you're interested in doing this. So the FlexNet program is but one of the programs in the schools that we have partnerships with. So students may do a program like this, or I have students who basically will pursue pre-med and pre-med study and then go through the typical medical school application process without, a specific school in mind. So there's one of two ways of going about that. The next question, I was looking at classes for chem, and I saw that there were days that we meet 3 times a day. Oh, such a good question. All right. So when we look at classes, you're going to see here, there we go. So depending upon the section, you're going to see that there may be multiple sections that you meet. So With our QUACS program and scheduling, this shows several different things. So you've got your lecture time. If you're ever wondering what the lecture time is, it's going to be either Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday classes at the same exact time. So for instance, Chem 1, Section 11, the lecture time is going to be right here, which looks like it's 10, that'd be 11, let's go to that. So it's going to be your 10:10 to 11:30. And then also you have a lab section. So if you're ever wondering what the lab section is, typically that's, the larger chunk of time. And you'll really only meet there once a week. And then you'll also have a test block for chemistry. I believe that's going to be the Wednesday morning. If you ever wonder what a test block is going to be, if you see within QUACS literally the same time every single section, that's going to be a test block. You're not going to meet at 8 a.m. Tuesdays or Wednesdays every week. It's just going to be when you have tests. And then there's a recitation time too. So these are times that they schedule like this because you will be doing something during each of those times. However, again, those test blocks are a bit different. And that goes for other classes as well. For instance, math. Form. Actually fill out the form. Can you opt out at any time? Yes. So I have had students who have declared pre-med and then they're like, nope, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't go to med school. They're basically be filling out the form again and then removing that distinction. It's a very easy process. Is Dr. Ledette an advisor? That is such a good question. So I believe he actually is leaving RPI. I think he's actually taken a different opportunity within the capital region. So he's an advisor here. It was always him as well as Dr. Mariah Hahn. So I do not believe he will be here in the fall. However, Dr. Mariah Hahn is who you'll work with, most likely. What is the acceptance rate from RPI to medical school? I don't actually know that answer just because I, again, don't advise pre-med specifically, but if you do have questions as such, you'll want to talk to your faculty advisor. Got a thank you here. Okay, cool. Any other questions? I know this is kind of a lot of information all at once. We have a question here. Is the Flexnet program a specific medical school? Yes. So the Flexnet program is specifically for the ICANN School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, which is, I believe, in the city. And however, we do have connections with other medical schools. We have a lot of students who go on to like Albany Medical College. But this specific program, yes, is for the FlexMed. Any other questions? In this program, do you still have to take the Mcat? I believe so. Acceptance requirements. Once accepted, students will be able to pursue their, maybe not, actually. Once accepted, students will be able to pursue their medical study unencumbered by the traditional science requirements and the Mcat. So no. Students who are accepted in the FlexNet program are automatically accepted in the medical school at the ICANN School of Medicine. And then these are the requirements that you take. And this is the thing too, is different medical schools have different program requirements. So I went on for a while about, AP, IB, and things like that. So for instance, this school does not love biology and chemistry to be AP or IB, but physics 1 can be. So you'll see, and if you have a medical school in mind, it's not a bad idea to kind of start researching just generally, on your own to see what the requirements might be. And you've got the GPA and the grade requirements and such. And again, this is but one of the different medical schools that people go to. Is Haas included in the template? Great question. So yes. And again, pre-med's a bit different because we don't actually have you take a Haas course your first semester, your first year even. So the Haas courses that you take are kind of spoken for you. There's one class that you'll really have as an elective. So for Haas, you'll take psychology and sociology, and then you'll take either a writing, literature, or communication course times 2. And then the last course you take can really be anything. So with humanities courses, you've been probably hearing about pathways and things like that. In fact, there's a Haas webinar going on right now. For pre-med, it is a bit different because we do tell you what to take for Haas. With other biomedical, biomedical and other non-pre-med programs, you're really free to take whatever you want in terms of humanities classes. At current, I believe the biomedical engineering department is actually working with Haas to create a pre-med specific pathway. Pathways being a group of 5 courses that help you go into a specified area. Right now, the pathway that makes the most sense is the public health pathway. That being said, hopefully there is going to be a pre-med specific pathway that encompasses psychology, sociology, and writing specifically coming up soon. So with Haas, you don't have to worry about it your first year anyhow, but just kind of hang tight and more information will be coming up about that. And no problem. All right. Any other questions? Feel free to throw them into the chat. If physics extend the first semester, where should engineering be placed? So engineering would just flip-flop. So if physics 1 is over here, intro to engineering analysis, which again is kind of like the physics of engineering, will go to the spring. So you just kind of move it around here. All right, so if no further questions, what we will do is we will round out the meeting here. So in the meantime, if you do want to actually declare pre-med, I threw the change of major form into the chat, so you have that. Just email that to me and we'll get that process going. You'll be linked up with your faculty advisor. And again, I'm here as a secondary advisor. If you're not sure if you want to do pre-med yet, no worries, you've got time. Really, you've got the full first year that you can kind of decide, and we can always have you take the classes in a bit of a mixed order, but again, we'll get those requirements finished with. So I look forward to working with you all, be it as your primary advisor or your secondary advisor through pre-med. And should you have any questions, feel free to email me. We can also meet one-on-one, kind of like this, or a phone call if that's easier. I'm around all summer, so I'm glad to help. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.